outnumbered overtime. Ouchie, baby. And our producer just called you Star-Kissed.
Yeah.
Why?
Chicken of the Sea.
Charlie, Chicken of the Sea?
Yeah, it was that and Chaz the Spaz. Although I earned that nickname.
Like Charles in Charge?
No. I was never in charge. I was a middle kid. I was a younger brother. I was never in charge. I was always.
You were like Jan Brady?
Yeah. I was the one.
Finish that sentence, though. I'm curious where that ends. You were always the one getting beat up because you were the youngest?
Because I had, my older brother and all of his, I would always get, are you kidding?
So funny because I'm noticing with my youngest, he gets beat up, but he's learning to punch back harder than the other.
Oh, no, I punched back. There was no doubt about that. But
look, we got to get this under control.
But there's nothing you can do about it when you're in a tent asleep. You're the only one who's still asleep, and your brother throws an entire thing of black cat firecrackers and there's a dog sleeping next to you who wakes up, goes to the bathroom, bites you, and then tears through the side of the tent. And then for the rest of that dog's life, every time I saw him, he would go and snap at me because he just associated.
Look at where he got you, Charlie.
A really bad
Made you stronger.
Yeah,
These experiences are good for kids.
Exactly.
Oh, my God.
What's wrong with a couple firecrackers in a tent?
It was a trick.
A lot.
So you grew up with like the honey badger of dogs.
Yes. Well, that wasn't my dog. It was my friend's dog. But every time I got in his truck, I could hear the clicking.
I had a friend who had a potbelly pig. And every time I went over to her house, they had to put it away because one time it chased me around the kitchen and I had to jump on the island because it bit me.
Oh my God.
Horrible.
Your first fan.
My first fan.
Wow.
Was this in Arizona?
Yeah.
Wow.
Not on a farm or anything. It was like a regular
like
house.
downtown Phoenix?
As regular as it can be with the
I was
potbelly
regularly
pig.
with the potbelly pig running around and trying to kill me in the kitchen.
Wow.
What's happening on Facebook? Because
That explains a lot about you guys.
Hey!
what are people giving us a shout out about? Where
I am
from?
currently logging on to Outnumbered Overtime on the web. Thank you for joining us. People talking about Trump's thank you tour.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a second because we didn't really bring it up much. He's got a second speech in that tonight. What are your thoughts about it?
It's another example of him thinking totally outside of the box, doing something that nobody's ever thought of before. And I think it's great. And he'll do some things like this that are stupid probably. But who cares? It's just
You think it is stupid?
No, I don't think it's stupid. I'm saying that obviously he is coming up with so many new ideas about how to do new approaches to things. You're going to find mistakes in there at some point. But I think this one's brilliant.
Do you think that we're learning anything, though? I mean, there were some policy things what are your thoughts on it?
Well, I, first of all, think that what he's doing with this thank you tour is actually very strategic. He knows he's going to be up for re-election in the next 4 years. And what do people complain about when people get elected and go to Washington? That they forget all about the people who voted for him.
Oh, that's interesting.
The idea that he's going back and saying thank you, recognizing that, hey, I'm going to do this job for you. I know that you put me there. And wait, by the way, in these Rust Belt states, I'll be back in probably 2 years because we start elections so early. Don't forget about me. I'm not going to forget about you. That's the first thing. And the second thing, in terms of the things that he's talking about in his speeches with policy, I don't think we're learning anything new, but that's not the point of him going to these rallies. The point is to go connect with the people who voted for him and to try to make sure they remember to do it again when he's up for re-election.
Do you think that their efficacy, or maybe just the reminder that he's coming back, Meghan, is one of the reasons why we're hearing people like Joe Biden say, I might run? Because the Democrats have been quiet as crickets, other than, some wanting to go after Trump.
Are they just... I don't understand.
Yeah, I mean, are they kind of taking a page from, wow, look at this tour? Like, we better pipe up. Somebody needs to say something from the party.
There's a lot of things that were like unwritten rules in politics that you couldn't do. You couldn't campaign forever. You can't bypass the press.
You can't?
There were unwritten rules that I think a lot of people abided by for a really long time. And he's broken every single one of them. So I'm not here to question the method to the madness anymore, because clearly he's a lot more politically savvy than anyone ever originally gave him credit for. I agree with Katie that it's probably very strategic that he wants to remind people how much he still loves them and he appreciates the people who supported him. I'm just honestly looking forward to him finally being elected president, and then we can find out who the rest of his cabinet is.
Well, I know we talked as this was coming up, a couple of weeks ago, about whether this would even be a good idea. There was some dissension on the couch about, well, do you want to be known for what you say or for what you do? But I mean, he is getting out there.
And then you have a case like the thing with the carrier jobs, which was terrific. And is it a stunt? Sort of. What matters, is going forward. Will he, employ other actual policies that could, make the atmosphere conducive for many, many, many more jobs to stay in the U.S. or return to the U.S.
Erica Elise Lucas is asking, what do you think of Ben Carson's choice? Of course, we talked about that at the top of the show, the live show today. But remember, Ben Carson took himself out, and then he put himself back in. He said he didn't want the job, and then he jumped back in.
Did he say he wasn't qualified?
Yes, he did.
Have
experience.
He said he wasn't qualified for any of the positions that
his
President-elect might
spokesperson
call.
said that.
And then he said, no, what I meant was, we don't know what they're going to be yet, and so on.
That was
and so
his
forth.
confidant that made those remarks.
But that's all part
true.
of it. And I think it's really, I think it says a lot about Donald Trump. The fact that he says to Ben Carson, no, actually, you are qualified because you've lived what your life is a testament to what this department ought to be doing, ought to be fostering, ought to be encouraging, as opposed to what it actually does.
You know what a qualification is? Somebody can learn to do something really, really well and be an expert at it. I think he did do that with brain surgery.
Exactly. You don't
learn.
have to be a brain surgeon.
This is from the live chat.
He happens to be one.
This is interesting from the live chat. C.S. Walker says, President Obama sends $1.7 billion in weapons to Taiwan. Crickets from the press. Trump talks to the democratically elected president of Taiwan. The press explodes.
There's a lot of hypocrisy in the reaction, especially, and again, I told you that I was at home when the news broke, and I just saw on Twitter, this is how wars break out in giant caps, and then people saying, I forget who tweeted it, but this could be the beginning of World War III, and I was like, what in God's name just happened? And then when I read more, I was like, this is why nobody trusts the media, because I almost went to bed thinking the World War III was breaking out.
And look, it's highly
irresponsible.
Yeah, there might be consequences for the phone call, but this idea that they're overblowing it into this World War III type consequence are ridiculous. I mean, yeah, China might be upset. They might have a response. We might have to deal with it. They're probably talking about what they're going to do if China responds A, B, and C. There might be consequences. That doesn't mean that what he did by accepting a phone call is somehow much worse than what President Obama has done over the last 8 years with the people he has affiliated with. I mean, he was doing the wave in Cuba with Fidel Castro, with members of the FARC sitting up 10 rows. I mean, come on.
Forgot about that.
Yeah, and if anybody, just look at the past 8 years, things aren't exactly going in the right direction. So,
especially in China.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so altering that trajectory is obviously not a bad thing.
I'm letting people know that I'm liking their comments so I can get them in queue here to read them. Go ahead, Megan.
No, I just like that I like the break in whatever tradition it is that, China has been, as we talked about yesterday, internationally making a lot of moves that are highly controversial. And I like that he's not going to let China dictate who he can and can't answer a phone call for. It's a nice change of pace, especially given the last 8 years where, like you said, President Obama has been hanging out with, murderous dictators' families.
And it is a closed communist regime. It's kind of like not exactly what we believe.
Yeah.
And just because something hasn't been done for 30 or 40 years doesn't mean it can't change. When President Obama made this phone call to the president of Iran, the headlines were completely opposite of what we're seeing now. And it was like, Obama makes historic phone call to the president of Iran to try and work out a nuclear deal. And they talked about all of that. It's like,
I know.
It's all global citizens.
It was like a thesaurus just exploded on the page, right?
Yeah.
If I never hear I'm a citizen of the world again from anyone in any capacity, it will be too soon. I hate when people say that. We're not. It's so irresponsible. It's intellectually irresponsible to be sitting here as an American and say, I'm a global citizen. I'm not. I'm an American, and our president should think that way as well.
Amen.
So how is it possible that the mainstream media and those who really got themselves in trouble, I'm talking about like the John Harwoods, who once you saw those emails that were busted by WikiLeaks, you're like, wow, they were kissing
He moderated
cousins
a debate.
Yeah.
That guy moderated a debate.
When you see that cozy relationship, isn't it odd about how the call between the Taiwanese president and President-elect Trump is being portrayed, and how the White House is, asking that our vets just get over it from World War II is not getting that kind of coverage. Like, really, well, here's the history that fills in those 75 years between what happened back at Pearl Harbor and what's going on with the Japanese leadership now. Like, just look at how differently those things are being covered in the media right now.
And the other thing that I find so appalling is, obviously President Obama went over to Japan Hiroshima last year, and now he's doing this thing next week with the Prime Minister here in Hawaii. Well, you know what? For 30 years, we've developed a very good relationship with Japan. It had nothing to do with President Obama, and it's like he's photobombing all of these, these good relations.
Remember when they wrote the line into every single historical presidency? Yeah. Remember that when the White House did that, and they wrote Obama's accomplishment into the biography of every president, and they're like, oh, well, here's this, but here's what President Obama did. That was horrible.
MOS 18A says, I've had way too much fun this morning. All snarkiness aside, thanks to everyone who made it possible. Nice. And we'll say bye like he did. Bye. See you tomorrow.